So I decided to answer the most common question I get from people in private messages today, and that is, how well does a 550, £600 PC perform? So I decided to buy one from Aria. It cost £549.95, this little green beast here. It came recommended by KitGuru, who usually have pretty good recommendations, and I decided to buy rather than build one because a lot of people don't know how to build PCs, and as much as a lot of people say it's simple, there is a lot you've got to learn to get it running properly, and it is quite time consuming building one. Now I'm going to show you, whilst I'm talking about the specs of the PC, some benchmarks from some games that I installed on it, just so you can see what the frame rate is. It's worth noting as well, although I didn't benchmark all of these games because a lot of them are very similar, but the PC actually came with Far Cry 3, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, Crysis 3, Tomb Raider, and Bioshock Infinite. So it had all of those games included for free, which are worth probably about £80, £100 or something. The specs of the PC though, it's got an Intel G2020 processor in it. That's roughly a third to a quarter of the speed of the 3770K I've got in my main PC, but it doesn't really matter because the graphics card in it is a 7790, and that processor is absolutely fine for that, and that's actually a surprisingly good graphics card. I mean, they alone cost about $130 to buy, and I think they've roughly got the same performance as about a GTX 560, although the 560s are a little bit more expensive. As for the rest of the space, it's got 128GB solid state drive, so Windows boots really nicely and quickly. It's got 500GB 7200 RPM hard disk drive in it as well, 8GB of RAM. It's got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Wi-Fi was great. It downloaded Arma 2 from Steam at 8 megabits a second, which is nearly as good as my wired connection, so it's a pretty decent full build. Now, you've probably been wondering what my experience in games was like. I found that in single player games, I'm basically looking for above 30 frames per second all of the time, so it's nice and smooth. And really, if I had my graphics on 1080p, medium to low settings, turn off anti-aliasing, then it really did stay above that the entire time. There were really no drops whatsoever, so it was a very fun, smooth gaming experience. Next game I played was Call of Duty, and as you can see, I got nearly 100 frames per second on most of the maps, and the game is very, very playable. In fact, I would say compared to my main PC, I didn't feel at a disadvantage playing on this PC. Try DayZ after that, and as you saw, the frame rate was okay. It was sort of around the 25 to 30 frames per second mark out of cities. In Cherno, it dropped down to about 10 to 15 frames per second, which I would say is probably unplayable. I was, of course, playing on all low settings, 1080p. Thing about DayZ and Arma games, though, is that especially when you're connected to a server, the game is very CPU intensive, and I don't think the G2020 quite cuts it there. So if you want to play DayZ, I would say you need to upgrade your processor. The graphics card is absolutely fine for that game. Next game I tried was Battlefield 3. And this was actually the game I had the most problems with, and I don't know whether this was a driver issue. I tried beta drivers, I tried rolling back, and I just couldn't fix this problem with the 7790, I think. And it's that I got really good constant frame rates of sort of about 60 frames per second all the time, which is obviously very playable and very good in the game on low settings. But every sort of 30 seconds or so, I got a drop down to about 30 frames per second that just seem to be random, that just happen for 1 or 2 minutes. And if you're in a gunfight, that will get you killed, because I mean, it knocks your aim just off so much because it stutters like that. I don't know if that's a problem with Radeon cards. Maybe you'd be better off with a 560. I don't know. I've heard that NVIDIA is perhaps a better buy for Battlefield, but I really don't know what caused that. So if anybody knows in the comments, you'll have to tell me, because I don't experience that on my main PC. But I hope this video was useful for you guys, showing you what an under £600 PC performs like. So if you plan on buying a PC, you can see what you can actually get. And it's not always all about building a PC. If you know what you're doing, then you can get stuff a lot cheaper like that. But it is a pretty big learning curve, and it does depend on the amount of time you've got. But there's some really good value for money PCs that you can just buy and then play on, much as you would just buy and play on a console. But thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next chapter.